We have now seen an overwhelming amount of evidence that Magicycle has infringed on our copyright and patents. See attachment for details. Uh-oh. You guys may recognize the Magicycle bike as one that I've reviewed, and you've probably seen it online if you've been watching any other YouTubers or Facebook ads or Google ads. It's one of the new e-bike brands that has just popped up that seems like a pretty reasonable deal. You've probably also seen the Hemiway for the same reasons. Now, I've reviewed both of these bikes. Hemiway actually sent me a bike to review. I purchased one at first to do a review on it, and then they agreed to send me the step-through version. And then recently I also got to review the Magicycle. Now, when I reviewed the Magicycle, definitely I noticed some similarities between the two bikes. Instead of pointing out what is the same between the two bikes, it's almost easier to try and point out what's different, because that might even be less. Now, what I wasn't expecting, however, was these communications I received from Hemiway, because they're not too happy about it. So what I want to do for you is share the information they have sent over to me. I am not involved with either of these companies in any way other than the two review bikes that I received. So I have no skin in the game, so to speak. I am just sharing the information that I have been given because that's the right, honest thing to do. Oh, look, somebody's driving in. Maybe he's buying a bike. So to start off, what I'm going to do is read to you what I received from Hemiway. There are two separate emails from two different people. The first one says, "Dear Bolton e-bike, I'm Rachel, the PR manager at Hemiway. Recently, we noticed you partnered with a company called Magicycle to publish a video on your YouTube channel. We understand your passion and unremitting curiosity towards electric bikes. It was this same spirit of exploration that helped us achieve the best bicycle performance when we first established Hemiway. If Magicycle competes fairly with us as an original brand, we'll respect it as a competitor. However, we are now suspecting Magicycle of intellectual property theft, not only plagiarizing parts of our official website, but also our product design. In August, we found that their Help Center page copied Hemiway's without any modification. They also linked directly to our instructional videos on their website and have only just removed them as we started to take action." And yeah, they actually sent me a screenshot of that, because by the time I got this, these things were removed. So I'll put that photo up on screen. But yeah, you can see that on the Magicycle Help Center, they literally just took Hemiway's videos and put them on for like their setup and assembly. And as far as I know, these are not made in the same factory. Although they look very similar and may use some same parts, Magicycle claims to have their own factory, and basically they're selling direct to consumers all the way from the factory, as opposed to other bikes like Hemiway, where there are other brands being manufactured. The second email I received was from a different person at Hemiway, but basically the same sentiment. They're copying not necessarily the bike, but they're copying our website, our intellectual property. They're using our videos. And as far as I know, most of that's been taken down and removed. Now, this isn't anything new in the e-bike industry. We've seen this before. Some of you may recall that there was a lawsuit filed years back against a company, and their name isn't really important right now, but basically they made something very similar to the Rad Power bikes, but it wasn't the bike that they were getting sued over. It was the IP of their website, their marketing, their sales tactics, because they had basically taken something very similar to their website and recreated it with their brand name, which obviously is a big no. I'm not getting in the middle of this, but I wanted to share with you these details just for full disclosure that this is something that's going on. So you may look at the websites and think, they're not really copying anything, but obviously the video one's kind of pretty obvious. Now it's time to look at the bikes and see what's the difference between the two. Are there any major differences? And from a bike perspective, not a copying perspective, marketing perspective, is one a better bike than the other? Price-wise, the Magicycle is $15.99. They often run sales going down as low as $13.99. That is common with new e-bike companies, that they enter with a lower price point to try and get some of the market share and beat the competition a little bit. Now, with them claiming to have their own factory and sell direct, maybe their price will remain lower. We'll see over time what actually happens. The Hemiway, $16.99. I've seen that price go up and down a little bit as well. But basically you've got 750 watt motor, 750 watt motor. You can see the tires are the same tires. You've got that reflective pinstripe on the side from Kenda. Rad Power, I think, was the first to really start doing that on a bike like this. We look closely at the fender. They're plastic fenders. You've got this little lip right here. Plastic fender. You've got this little lip right here. Those fenders look identical. Suspension fork. You've got lockout. It's a red switch. This one has lockout, and it's a black switch. The Hemiway has multiple clicking points. The Magicycle doesn't. Slight nod, I guess you would say, to the Hemiway on the fork. They are both quick release. The style of the brake disc is a little bit different. That is something I mentioned in the original review that was potentially a positive for the Magicycle, which was the brakes. They're both mechanical, but what I liked about the mechanical brakes on the Magicycle is that the pads come in from both sides, and you don't see that very often on mechanical brakes. Now, the only thing I have to report about that is that lately I've seen a lot of people on the Magicycle groups, the first thing they want to upgrade is the brakes. So even though I thought that would be better, it looks like from users who have the bikes, maybe that's not the case. I've actually sent out quite a few of our Juintech hydraulic calipers specifically for the Magicycle bikes. So that tells me that, well, maybe it's a good theory, but maybe they're not actually working as well as I had hoped. Shifter on the Magicycle, shifter on the Hemiway, leather looking grips with a half twist throttle, leather looking grip with a half twist throttle, decent looking rear rack, does have a tail light. Oh look, a decent looking rear rack. They do have a wood inlay, which just kind of makes it look fancy. And look, a tail light. The display is one area where the bikes do differ. The Magicycle comes with a color display. That is just a visual thing. It doesn't actually do anything really that the Hemiway doesn't. Both are fairly easy to read. Both are easy to use. So from a functionality standpoint, it's really not going to make a difference. Now the batteries at first glance appear the same, but they are not. That is going to be a selling point for the Magicycle over the Hemiway. I think they did this on purpose just to compete with these other bikes and say, well, we're better in this one way. This is a 52 volt battery, which means that in theory, if this controller is running the same amps as this one, you could squeeze a little more wattage out of the Magicycle. I'm gonna try and ride them side by side and see if I can even tell a difference between the two bikes. The other thing you might get is a slight edge in top speed. Pedals are both from Wellgo and identical. Shimano gears, Shimano Altus derailleur, that's the Magicycle. Shimano gears, Shimano Altus derailleur, that's on the Hemiway. The Magicycle looks like it could be a better deal because of the higher voltage battery, because of the color display, and because of the lower price, but they're also trying to copy someone else, and do you trust a company that's doing business in that manner? So now I'm gonna hop on both bikes and see if I can tell any difference between the power. All right, Magicycle, we're gonna make sure the power is cranked up all the way. The battery is at 93% according to the display. Basically, I'm just gonna give it a full throttle test, no pedaling, and just see how does it take off and how does it compare to the Hemiway. So we'll go in 3, 2, 1. It's quick, it's a good 750 watt bike, but is it faster? Battery's fully charged, full throttle, no pedaling. Let's see how it takes off. I think I'm gonna have to test that again. Back to the Magicycle. All right, that was very unscientific, but I just wanted to compare these side by side, just seeing, can I feel the difference. How much of a difference does it make? Because some bikes, the difference would be dramatic, just night and day. And does the 52-volt battery make a night and day difference? And I'm gonna say, no, it doesn't, honestly. If you ask me if I had to say, in court, is this bike faster than that bike? Based on riding feel alone, I would not be able to tell you that. It might be. We would have to actually get out timers and cones, and I do think it's a little bit faster, but it's not night and day. If it is any faster, it's only a tiny bit more than the Hemiway. Magicycle display does say wattage, and just in those brief little runs on flat ground, it was showing about 900 watts while accelerating. So let me know in the comments, which would you choose, the Hemiway or the Magicycle? Or better yet, perhaps something from Bolton e-bikes. Don't forget that we have bikes in stock right now. One of them that would probably be a good competitor to both of those would be the Aventon Aventure. No matter what bike you choose in the end, you should go check out this video, because here are some free tips on how to increase the range of any electric bike.